stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and.
Very good, Jim.
All right, Jim.
No. Commissioner Hutchinson,
Yes.
Commissioner
Here.
Engler,
Here.
Commissioner Jelzinski,
Present.
Commissioner Marino,
Here.
Commissioner Swaney,
Here.
Commissioner Horton,
Here.
Commissioner Hope.
Here.
All present, Mr. Chairman.
Up next would be approval of the agenda. Start out with general public comments. Under presentations and special reports, we have the Isabella County Administrator Controller Report. Under appointments to boards and commissions, we'll consider ratifying the membership appointments to the Insurance Committee. Committee reports, Finance Administration Committee,
Finance and Administration Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
and Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
The Public Works Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Intergovernmental Affairs, Commissioner Marino, do we have any intergovernmental affairs? We do not. We have no administrator controller issues. No unfinished business, no new business. We'll have another opportunity for general public comment towards the end of the meeting, and then announcements. And then we'll enter into a closed session to consider collective bargaining strategy. And then adjournment. So with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move, Marino.
Support Jelzinski.
Moved and supported. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? We have an agenda. Next up is general public comments. Anyone for general public comment? Shelf, do we have anyone attending virtually? We do not, so we will keep moving. Presentations and special reports, Isabella County Administrator Controller, Nicole Frost.
Thank you, Chairman. So we just scheduled in a conversation with Clerk Lux, the oaths of office. So congratulations, commissioners who are returning and our new commissioner-elect. Clerk Lux will be in her office November 29th, the date of our next committee meetings. So if you can remember to stop by her office and take your oath of office when you are in. Commissioner-elect Embry, if that date doesn't work for you, I'm sure we can schedule something different with Clerk Lux, but wanted to let you guys know about that hot off the press. Something in front of you is, I gave you a hard copy of the performance appraisal on myself. At the last meeting, we talked about getting with the attorney and finding out how the process went last time. The attorney has let me know that past procedure has been to have the county administrator send her self-evaluation to the Board of Commissioners with a request for the commissioners to complete their portion by a specific deadline. That deadline is going to be November 28th. So you've got almost 2 weeks to complete your comment section on that. After you complete that evaluation, you should email it to Bonnie. Now, Jessica is going to send you an email with the PDF, the fillable PDF version of this, so that I just wanted you to have a hard copy in case you wanted that as well. And then after Bonnie receives all the commissioners' evaluations, her office will prepare a summary, which will be sent to the board chair and myself. And then we'll circle that back to you, hopefully. Probably the last meeting in December would be my guess. So, any questions about that process? You should see an email soon. Due to Bonnie, November 28th. I also wanted to let you know the MRF Advisory Board is meeting this Thursday as regularly scheduled at 8 o'clock, but something pretty special that's happening is RRS, the consultants who have been working on the feasibility study, will be there to give a very preliminary report to the MRF Advisory Board, and they're going to work with them to kind of narrow down some of the options on the facility layout. So I would offer up to any of the commissioners, if they want to attend that meeting, if it's something of interest to you, that might be an extra interesting meeting to attend. They meet in room 320 upstairs in the county building. So that's this Thursday, the 17th at 8 a.m. if you're interested. RRS looks to have a full report to the board, probably not until January of next year, honestly. I wanted to let you know, Commissioner Marino had reached out to me. He attends the Mid-State Health Network board meetings on that board, and a report he had gotten mentioned a group called Peer 360 that receives some of the funding that we send to Mid-State. And Commissioner Marino hadn't heard of that organization, and neither had I. But I was able to get connected with them, and it's a fantastic recovery organization. I think it's called Locally Recovery on the Res. Those meetings are held out at the tribe. Our Isabella County coordinator is a tribal member. And the neat thing about the program is that everyone who works for the organization is recovering from addiction. And so they have a personal experience with it, and maybe perhaps a better connection with the people who utilize the program. So they're going to come in and present to the board sometime in 2023. None of the dates left in 2022 work for them, but thank you, Commissioner Marino, for asking the question. I think you're going to enjoy the presentation. It takes some of these motions and makes it, I think, a little more impactful or meaningful with what actually happens with some of those dollars. So we'll look to hear from them in 2023, hopefully early on. Wanted to report that our Veterans Affairs Director, Ian Welch, I found out is going to be receiving the Liberty Bell Award from the Michigan Bar Association in December for his work with veterans. So I just wanted to share that with you. I asked about the event, but I understand it's a private event, so we can't go and cheer him on, but you can certainly mention that to him when you see him. You will soon be receiving, if it didn't go out before Jessica came here today, an email inviting you to the 2% distribution this Friday, the 18th at 9 a.m. at the Black Elk Government Complex at the Soaring Eagle Complex. Generally, only the chairperson and the administrator have attended in the past, but you are all welcome to attend and accept the award. That we don't know what that is yet, but some of the awards that we have applied for have been granted. So we'll find that out Friday. Would love to have you all there. Chairman Hope would be the spokesperson, but I hope Team Isabella joins him in that. And the department heads who put in an application for funding will be invited to attend as well. You should have already received that email. If you think that you should be there and you haven't seen that email, please reach out to me. Okay, we'll have a good discussion about that. So what a great event. What a great event. I recently met Dustin Davis. He is the tribal administrator, and it really struck me about what a different structure they have. I always pictured Eric Rodriguez as their administrator, and until I met Administrator Davis, it didn't dawn on me that that wasn't Eric's role. But their structure there is that their Administrator Davis works on internal tribal issues. Eric is more in marketing, and he handles any external outside relationships with other organizations. And it just kind of gave me pause to think about what a great structure that is, and why an organization needs someone focused internally like that. So I just thought it was an interesting model. I would point out that this is Native American Heritage Month as well, so to be celebrated. One thing I was able to do since my last report, I think I sent the commissioners an email so they would know that this was happening. I had no idea that our medical examiner office did this, but Sparrow serves as our medical examiner, as they do for 5, 6, 7 counties, I think. And if you might imagine, on an annual basis, there are some cremains at our medical examiner's office that go unclaimed. And there's a lot of situations that could lead to that. But I was very pleased to learn on All Souls Day, there was a service at St. Joseph's Cemetery in Lansing to honor those unclaimed souls. And I went to represent Isabella County and really glad that I did. It was a really great event. I don't think that happens everywhere. So kudos to Sparrow for setting that up. And I believe the director of the mausoleum at St. Joseph's has a lot to do with that as well. So it's pretty neat. Attended leadership luncheon with most of you and a lot of tribal folks, a lot of representatives from CMU and the city and the township. And it was a really great luncheon. I want to remind you of a really great luncheon coming up this Thursday here in this building. They're having Thanksgiving dinner, Thanksgiving lunch. So they do like you to RSVP, but I know you've been invited by Director Jen Crawford. So I hope that you consider attending, whether you serve or whether you eat or both, but hope to see you here. I think that is all I have to report at this time, unless there are any questions for me.
See any questions, but Administrator Frost, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up would be appointments to boards and commissions, and you have in front of you, commissioners, the insurance committee appointments for County Board of Commissioners ratification. So we will consider ratifying these this evening. But we have Deanne Crowley as a non-exempt employee, Dorothy Marshall as a non-exempt employee, Kathleen Schaefer as an exempt employee, Tim Nieport as an exempt employee, Nicole Frost as the administrator controller representative, Emma Toski as the payroll and benefits administrator, Carrie Curtis as the trial court administrator, Michael Main as the sheriff representative, and Jennifer Wilson as sheriff's alternate, Tobin Hope as chairperson of the board representative, James Marino as a county commissioner representative, and Sharon Brown as the Isabella County retiree representative. So we've got all the players together and ready to move forward on that, I think. So I don't know if any of the commissioners have any comments or questions.
I would just point out the difference in terms there is for the non-exempt employee representatives. We had talked about the highest vote getter getting the 2-year term and the other getting the 1-year term. So we stagger those going forward. Deanne Crowley has the 2-year term for the non-exempt, Dorothy Marshall, the 1-year term, Kathleen Schaefer, the 2-year term as an exempt, and Tim Nieport as a 1-year term for the exempt employees. So just wanted to make that clarification.
Thank you. So I'm thankful for all those people for stepping forward, and I'm looking forward to really get down in the weeds of our benefit package and doing a really thorough examination of it. So that'll be a good thing. If anybody has any questions or comments? If not, we can move right along to committee reports. Finance and Administration Committee.
First item of business is consider ratifying and placing on file the October 28, 2022 invoice list in the amount of $367,695.55. November 4th, 2022 invoice list in the amount of $367,695.55. And the adjustment list dated November 10th, 2022. I guess before we go through, I noticed that the figure is duplicated. Is that just a chance, rare?
The November
Oh,
4th invoice list is $332,479.93. So
yep.
good catch, Commissioner.
So we'll get that straightened away for the at the meeting. So anyhow, we'll go back and look at the October 28th invoice list first. They all look pretty customary. The big dog on the porch is $137,976.50, which is a check to the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority for 50% payment on our liability and property insurance for the year. community mental health, this first quarter appropriation, and so on. Most of these are contracts that we've entered into, and we're just paying the piper now as we move through the budget year. Any questions on the October 28th list? Moving then on to the
There's a
November.
question.
Yeah, it's not a question, more or less a comment. We always get these through our emails and everything. I was wondering if it would be appropriate if Commissioner-elect Emery would start getting these so he can get kind of used to the numbers going into it. It's a lot to digest, but as long as she's sending them on, it'd be nice to send him so he can get a flavor of what's going on. I'm not sure if that's appropriate or not, but I thought that would be a good idea.
Public information, so great suggestion. Ready or not?
That's all I had, Jerry.
And then moving on to the November 4th invoice list. Again, they're very customary and well-known disbursements that we could make on a regular basis. The only one that I had a question with that I didn't catch on committee is the WellCap LLC. We have the fiscal year. We've got two bills. We got $35,593.02 for monthly medical services for the contract for the sheriff's office, which I understand. But then we have another one for monthly medical, excuse me, got to get to the right spot. It's a fiscal year 22 aggregate cap for medical services. Is that over the contract amount?
That's exactly right. I feel like they're for maybe some of their mental health services is what I feel like, but the contract caps certain services at certain thresholds. Anything above that, we are on the hook for every year. There's a makeup payment, if you will, in that regard. Mhm.
Okay, are there any questions on the remaining disbursements? All right, we'll put the November 4th list aside and pick up my smartphone here and take a look at the adjustment list here. All right, there we go. Most of them are for Gordon Food Service, which are payment to save, get an early payment discount. We have several that are payments to avoid late fees. The only one that I thought was a little bit here. No, I don't have any issues with any of those. They're all either early payment or to get a discount or payment so we don't have a late fee. And there's others that simple things like somebody forgot to remove the property tax, which then gets caught in administration before the check is drafted. So any questions about the adjustment list? None? We'll move this forward then to tonight's meeting.
Okay, next up, adopting Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 2022-08, United States Department of Agriculture, USDA Loan Resolution Form RD 1942-47 in the principal amount of $41,500,000 and authorize the board chair to sign the same. As everyone knows, we've had this pretty much ad nauseum over the last little bit, and this kind of completes the circuit with the USD resolutions and all the bond resolutions on this $48 million project, with the hope of getting shovels into the ground, probably hopefully sometime next spring. And I'm going to compliment the writer of this memo. I'm going to read this verbatim, I think. So it's pretty much straightforward. The loan resolution serves to set the parameters of our borrowing with USDA. It allows for refinancing of the loan should interest rates decrease. It establishes the course of action should the county ever default on any principal or interest payments on the loan. It requires written consent of the USDA to encumber the facility and devotes facility revenue specifically to the purpose of debt service, operation and maintenance, and reserves for loan prepayments. It further mandates that no free service or use of the facility will be permitted. Again, it's pretty much straightforward. What the USDA, they're not going to drop off $41,500,000 in a briefcase at the back door and walk away. They're going to want some commitments, and this board has been readily upfront without making those. So any questions for the commissioners in regards to this? Commissioner Jelazinski.
Just a comment. I know this is like our third document that we did our set the contract with our engineers to get the materials and the labor. And then we did USDA, and then we had one other document. But even if you add all those pages together, last time I sold a house, I had so many pages. This is a simple process for 48 or $41.5 million. I guess I'm looked at as a credit risk, and that, so I have a whole lot more forms to sign, but I was surprised that for that amount of money that we just have those few documents.
Nicole will tell, excuse me, if I may speak. This has been, back when at the time I was chair, this has been a long ongoing process. And what you're seeing is just the small little tip of the spear. Okay. Underneath this, Nicole will tell you the amount of voluminous documents involved in this. So while we're just approving and signing, and Tobin's taking his blue pen at the end of this meetings and signing, there's a lot of work and a lot of dotting i's and crossing t's. So Commissioner Engler.
As someone who deals a lot with USDA, probably 4 or 5 times a year, I said, yeah, you'll get the paperwork, Commissioner. You don't worry about that. They love their ink.
And my name, a few of those. So, yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions or concerns from commissioners? Hearing and seeing none, this issue will move forward to this evening.
The third item is consider adopting Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 2022-09, authorizing intergovernmental agreements with townships within Isabella County to provide online access on the county's website for information regarding the township's assessment services. This, and I apologize, I did get the memo about the meeting that they were trying to get people, all the townships to come together. Was it the Township Association? And I think, Nicole, you were probably there. So there's a lot of interest, I believe, on the part of the townships to try to work through some issues. The state now has requirements for the townships to put certain assessment information online, and not everybody has that ability. And so through discussion, it was decided that, you know, perhaps the county could be a good partner in this, and we could make our website available and then link it to their information. And I know I have, I had 4 townships, got 3 townships in my new district now, but I understand where some of the townships, some of them don't have broadband, but I'm wondering, even if they did have broadband, if they're going to have the money to keep up a website or the interest in doing so. So I think this is a good deal for all. And at this point, do you want to add anything, Nicole?
I think I would just add that the Council of Governments meets tomorrow night. So if the board approves this resolution, then we'll fill in the blanks for each township. We'll offer it up tomorrow night for those in attendance. They can take their packet with them. They'll go back to their township if they want to enter this agreement, approve it, execute it, send it back. And this resolution authorizes chairman to sign those agreements. Once they come back, those would not have to go back to the board again. So I just wanted to explain that process. Took me a little bit to figure out how is all this going to work, but that's how it works. So those who want to take advantage of this will be able to. More progressive townships may not need to or want to enter this agreement, but will still have their information in a common place, probably just linking to their website where you can find that information instead of.
Commissioner Horton?
I talked to Commissioner Jelazinski before this meeting. Thank you for taking this one. Looking at this, I'll clear it up from the commissioners. The last committee meeting I was not able to attend because of business sessions, business reasons. So this one, I agree with what we're doing. I think is a good thing to help the townships out. I'll state that up front. And I complimented the writing of the last memo. On this memo, I'm going to disagree with some language in it, though. As far as global solution to this new challenge, this is not a global solution. This is simply a Band-Aid. In the statute, it talks about a 25 download and a 3 upload. That's incredibly slow. I mean, you can't even do a Zoom. You don't even want to risk doing a Zoom unless you can do a 10 upload. And that's usually the standard in Zooming. Maybe a little lower than that, but again, I think it's good for our county to be involved in this, but I think on an overall county-wide network, we need to explore going further and maybe developing, some type of better infrastructure or whatever to get our broadband. Because, if we can't even meet a 25.3 standard, I have a business. Very honest, it's not specific to Isabella County, but in a way it kind of plays off Isabella County and has nothing to do with the county itself. There's a large entity out there that provides internet service to businesses, and they market a 600 download, 40 upload speed, yet they're only capable of delivering 350 on the download. Why? And they blatantly sell at 600 speed. Now go figure that in Isabella County. In Mecosta County, I can pull 660 on my download speed. Why is that? I don't know that as an answer. Again, nothing to do with the county. That has to do with some of the providers. Why cannot we, as a community, seek to go beyond 25.3? I mean, and that's incredibly slow. As far as I'm concerned, it says, yeah, you can at 25.3, your internet is very fast. Well, try doing something on 25.3. And so long before try zooming on 25.3 till you start freezing up. Again, it's not a global solution, it's a Band-Aid solution, but it's the best we can do currently, and it helps the townships out. So I'm in favor of it, but we have to do something better as a county, and it's just not specific to this county, it's all over. So, yeah. Go ahead, Michelle, you got something? Sorry.
This was more not their internet speed or even having internet. It's providing a link to their information so that they don't have to pay for a website. A lot of them don't have the money or the funds or the means to keep it up, as Jerry said. And so this was more of a way to give them a link to get this information out there, not anything to do with their internet.
Okay, my next statement to that would be then, what is the cost to develop a website today? It is astronomically low compared to what it used to be. I can tell you can run and maintain a website for easily under $2,000 a year. And if that's a concern for townships at $2,000 a year, that's a problem. Okay. So I know that is just, again, I'm in favor of doing what we're doing now. But when I hear it's too much money for develop a website and maintain a website, I don't buy that one. I'm sorry, it's not true. It simply is not true. You can develop a website and maintain it for $2,000 a year. So, yes, Frank. I'm sorry, I'm not meaning to.
Commissioner, on that, it's not so much the money on the smaller ones. A lot of time it's just getting somebody to put the time in to do it.
Frank, they're
A lot of
elected.
them are- Huh?
They're elected to the position to serve the community for that position, and if they don't have the time to do it,
Well,
What's up with
they
that?
got a lot of other things on their
well, so do we.
plate. Yeah, I know.
So does the 7 board members and the newest board member come up. We all have different jobs and different things, but to say you're going to run for position, so I don't have the time to devote to a website that puts certain things, I don't buy that. Again, my township that I live in certainly has a website. Again, smaller townships, that's fine. But the cost involved today and the time involved to manage a website is minimal compared to even it was 5 years ago. It's astronomically different. So I think I disagree with the concept that it's too much money and or it's too much time. It's just not getting done is what I see it being done. So that's my statement. I'm sorry I didn't get to say that in committee, but I think Commissioner Hope heard me say that on the phone to him. So he got his right ear full and probably his left ear because he switched.
I guess it's all about priorities too. And they're dealing with cemeteries, they're dealing with roads, they're dealing with everything else. And I tell you that the budget in some of my former townships are very stressed. So, and those people work very hard. And now they're going to be asked to do a lot more with the elections coming up, the new resolution coming in there. And some of them I talked to a lot of them, some of them might not even run anymore.
My question to you, Commissioner Engler, would be, is it they don't have the time or they don't want to put the effort into learning how to operate a website?
Oh, they've all got some websites, but just it's not. They all attempt to do this website, but you need to have somebody actually there and take control of it and update it all the time. And that does take certain amount of work. Like I said, and a lot of the people on the townships are not as tech savvy as some of the people. They don't have full-time stuff. So we're out.
I mean-
to disagree, but
No, again, this was probably an
it's a
issue.
struggle I hear.
Right.
Since I've been in my district, it's been probably half the one struggle keeping a website up, and they'll put one up and they'll get somebody and they'll do it. It's just a struggle for them. It really is. This would be such a advantage for them just to get that on to the ones that want to do it. But yeah, and maintaining one, sometimes it's just, like I said, they can't get anybody. You have to have a younger person with the more tech savvy, and
Frank, I'm 60 years old and I can do it. Okay,
you're,
so I'm not a young person and.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they have, their priorities are a lot higher, and this would be such a better
Well, again,
option.
I think this county is doing something on a short-term basis, but we need to look at it more. If you want to use the term global, which you did here, let's turn global as far as Isabella Community Framework and develop something and get something in here. We've got, again, 1 year from now, 3 years from now, there could be Starlink technology or something very similar that people can pull in and do something with it. And right now, it's probably not affordable for everybody. But there's issues involved going down the road. Can we improve this? The broadband service being one, and we're also talking about development of a website and maintaining a website. It's gotten so much easier. I mean, you can control a website. Again, I know we have our county website, which we paid a lot of money to develop and maintain, but it's gotten much easier. Like I said, even develop an app. I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, it was tens of thousands of dollars to have your own app. Now you can pay, maybe $1,000 or $2,000 and have your own app. And it's just totally night and day difference. So.
Administrator Frost, did you have something to add to the conversation?
And I'm done. I just, like I said, that was mine was only commenting. So.
I do. It has gotten easier, and I think that's what allows the county the ability to be able to reach out and help the townships in this regard, because it certainly has gotten easier for us. We have a brand new robust website. We have a township page already. So I think because it is easier is what allows us to do this. Maybe it's not a global solution, but reaching out to the townships, in my mind, is the first step to any global solution. So I'm glad we're taking it. And I just would say in the bottom line is it's service to residents, and these are all townships, but they're all county residents. And so at the end of the day, I do think it is a better service because there's one spot where residents can go regardless of where they're at to find this information.
Yeah. One of the things before I close, and I wanted to bring this up, and again, I probably should have said this in committee, but I was absent from committee, is that it's very easy to test your internet speed where you're at. And I would just be curious, again, I don't want people to send me emails of their internet speed. Please do not. But I would think that we could, something's got to be done, because you can do a simple speed test to see what your internet speed is, where you're at. And I'm just curious to where the outlining counties and where we're sitting in our county with our internet speed, because that commands so much presence and so much, if you want to talk about a global sphere, where we're going as far as people working from home, people maintaining jobs, learning, education, things like that. It's necessity. And it's, I'd like to see Isabella County develop it. And certainly the more broader downtown area, again, not my district, but if we can't even meet what, I shouldn't say this because I'm going to get bad press on this, but we can't even meet what Big Rapids does. Why? I mean, why is that? I don't get it. From the same company that provides internet services can't deliver what they're advertising. I just don't understand it. So again, that's just, I digress there for a moment, but again, I'm full support of this. I think we need to do what we can to help our constituents in our county, our townships. So thank you for letting me go into our digression.
Any other questions or comments? We'll move this then to tonight's meeting.
And that, Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, gentlemen, and that brings us to Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
All right, today we have 4 items. I'll farmland open space program agreements, applications. First one is consider approving a Cameron Mogenborg farmland agreement application and instruct the Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program. This first one's 39 acres for 50 years, and we usually just receive these applications, make sure they're filled out properly, and send them on to the state. Are there any questions for that first one?
Commissioner Sweeney, Commissioner Engler, good on this one?
We're splitting these up, yes. The biggest discussion we had is between the Muggenborg and the Muggenbergs in the county, so there is a difference, so.
Thank you.
And I get to see them 3 times. Once in planning commission, once in committee, and then now at the commission meeting. So number 2, consider approving the Vernon Mogenborg farmland agreement application parcel number 10-36-10-1-2 and instruct Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program. And this one is 55 acres, again for 50 years. Any questions? Nope. All right, we'll move those forward to tonight.
And we have also consider approving the Vernon Mogenberg farmland agreement application parcel number 10-036-20-00-003-00 and instruct the Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program. This is again 116 acres and it also is for 50 years, and all the dots were and the X's were crossed. So is there any questions on this one? Okay, seeing none, we'll move this forward to tonight's business session. And the last one is also Mogenberg. It's consider approving the Vernon Mogenberg farmland agreement application parcel number 10-035-20-003-001 and instruct Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program. This is for 77 acres and it's also for 50 years, and all 4 of these were basically farmland. There was no buildings on any of these. So is there any questions? Yes.
I guess not really a question, but I know these farmland agreements, they're the voluntary in nature where people can set aside acreage and not produce a crop on it. And there's tax advantages for doing that. Did I misspeak?
You misspoke. You can do a crop on that. What it is the agreement, and it depends on, there's an income variable on it where you'll get a tax break if you agreed to leave that property in agriculture and not develop it into housing or anything else. So as long as, and it depends, there's a formula, that's a very complicated formula, but depending on, you get a tax advantage on your property if you promise, like these are all for 50 years. For 50 years, that's going to be dedicated to agriculture.
So you can still put it in production of food products for the.
Yes. And
Okay.
also, if you want to sell this property, that agreement can be transferable to the next person. Now, if you want to get out of the agreement, you have to go through a process and you usually have to pay back 7 years of tax savings that you have had. So, and there's a big process to do it, but it's basically farmland preservation. So they can use agriculture, timber, they can do whatever is considered agriculture, and there, as long as they don't develop it into housing or something else, some other business. So
Good.
some ag businesses are allowed, but it has to be small and family oriented, like a sawmill or something can be allowed and still keep their 116 status. So the question, when they put windmills on, allow that, the state decided that they could keep the 116 in there. So the next question is what happens with the solar panels, if that'll be, because that's a different value and you will not be able to actually farm on solar panels. So the question will be, will they be able to keep their 116 status? it's really important for older people that are not farming, that rent their property and then on a fixed income. Because it helps them with their property taxes if they're in this, so.
Learn something new.
Yes, Mr. Hutchison, Commissioner.
Quick question. You got 4 of these and one was Cameron Moggenborg. The others are all Vernon. Why do we not do that as one? And why is it split out 3 ways?
They all have to be done separately per parcel usually. So if it goes into a different. Yeah. They have to be adjourning, or touching before they do it, so.
Our education continues, Commissioner. Is it Conservation Reserve Program that where you can't, I think where you can't
That's the
you
CRP.
keep it
program,
fallow and you don't plant?
Right, and you get paid a certain amount to not do anything. You have to maintain it. So if it's a grass, you have to put a cover on there and you have to maintain the grass and you get paid to do it. But that's a different program completely, so.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any more questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move them forward to tonight business sessions. And Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you. Commissioners, Human Resources and Public Works Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first item is consider approving the 2023 Fisher Annex lease agreement for Deerfield Nature Park and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have our Parks and Recreation Director, Sue Ann Kaufman, here to give us the background on this. Good morning.
Hey,
I mean, good
everybody.
afternoon.
Back again. Yeah, this is will be our 37th year. Started with you, did it, Jerry?
Makes me feel old.
Well, this is our annual agreement with the River Project, and we used to do it with Bud Fisher, who sadly, passed a couple of years ago, but they're continuing this program with the River Project, which is 160 acres that is seen as part of Deerfield Park in this agreement. And if you enter Deerfield Park, you would see a sign that talks about the Fisher Annex. It's a southwest portion of the park. So this is just the agreement, which includes, as it says in my report, to pay for the taxes on this project or the property. This year it was about almost $5,300. And we do have money in our budget this year to, again, for property taxes on the 160 acres. It's just a really beautiful piece of property, and as everyone, I think, pretty much part of Deerfield Park. So,
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to join Sue Ann in thanking the Fisher family and keeping this going and with the Fisher Trust and everything. It's a beautiful piece of property, and the park would definitely not be the same without it. For anybody who gets out, again, it's another jewel in our community, that Deerfield Park is. So it's just, yeah, it's very nice. And so it's unfortunate we lost Mr. Fisher several years ago too. He's also a big benefactor in this community, so.
Anybody else? Seeing none, thank you. And that concludes the work of the Human Resources and Public Works Committee, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That brings us down to intergovernmental affairs, which we have none, no administrator, controller issues, no unfinished business, no new business. Brings us to general public comments. Public comments. Seeing no one, we'll move right on to announcements. And I know that Clerk Lux had an announcement she would like to make. You want to make yours now? Or?
I just wanted to report back to you, commissioners, in regards to the November 8th election. Everything went pretty well. We began canvassing on the Thursday, which would have been November 10th at 9 a.m. And within the canvas, everything equaled out. There's a couple that were off by 1 or 2, but they go through and reconcile that. There was one city 4 and 5. The AVs were off by 25. And I would like to tell Union Township, and if you can take this back to them, thank you, because I contacted Union Township Clerk Lisa Cody. She met me at the Township Hall. They use CMS Internet. I'd like to thank them too. They allowed us to use their high-speed tabulator. We had 985 ballots. And the poor city clerk was putting through 25 at a time, and we're looking, and it would have taken us 6 to 7 hours to redo all these ballots to the tabulator. So picked up the phone, called Lisa, and I tell you what, that clerk is on the ball. She met us there, did everything, ran them through. I think we're out of there within 1 hour. So I will be going for a grant for these high-speed tabulators now that we're gonna have lots of AVs coming through. So what had happened was 25 of the AVs were set aside by a worker, and they had a rhythm going. And at the end of the night, you were so tired, they put that 25 back in again. They knew what the error was, but by us retabulating, made everything A-OK, spot on, everything was good. So we reported back to the canvassing board with the results on that. We ended canvassing board at 4:35. So everything canvassed, we turned it all into the state of Michigan. We have had numerous FOIAs through our office, and I'm sure some of you commissioners have too. So I have decided that when the state of Michigan ends and closes the state of Michigan canvassing on the state of Michigan, we are allotted as the county clerks to go back in. If we want to do a hand recount, we can, or whatever. I have decided, and sort of the county canvassing board members, that we would pull 6 precincts. So we did pull 6 precincts out. And what's going to happen is once the state finalizes theirs and gives us the date, we are going to have all 6 precincts come into the county building. I will publicize in the Morning Sun. I will publicize on Facebook. I want to make sure that everyone in the public gets to come and watch. We will pick out probably a proposal on 3 of them, and then we'll probably do a actual contest on the other 3. And we'll show that the tabulators are spot on. We will show that utilizing ink on a marker it does not inhibit the actual votes. I just want to be real clear and open before 2024. So that the general public can ask us any questions, they can visualize everything and walk through the entire process with us. So hopefully everything will be spot on, and we'll answer all the questions, and the FOIAs will cease a little bit. There is one problem we do have, and county clerks throughout the state of Michigan, this is more of a national level, but we had hundreds come in on the day of elections, and they're mainly your students, your college students. So they'll all come in same day and they'll register. And so I was working with the city clerk and Union Township clerk and Chippewa and a couple others. We're starting to take every single one of them same day registration. And we're actually going to use Eric along with our QVF and go back through and make sure they didn't already vote here in Ohio and vote here in Michigan. So far, we've just started, but we found 2. We're going to take those, and I'm taking them to the county prosecutor, and we're going to prosecute them. We've got to put an end to that. And I think that too will help our state clean up the QVF in Eric, which means that all of our units will read each other day of election, because if we can't read each other, this is just going to continue. So going through all this, I think we found a lot of answers to a lot of our questions that we've had out there. And then currently we're just sending out the certificates, which I delivered to all you guys too, the proposals that were approved, and closing up and doing oaths of office. So we should be done by 1st of January. I think. Other than that, was there any questions anyone has? I know you have to report back to townships. I know proposal 2 is going to really just tell them to calm down, because until the state figures out what they're going to do, they're the ones going to regulate this. They're the ones who are going to go in and say, okay, legislatively, why this is what we're going to have to do. Tell them not to worry. Well, I mean, we've got to have some game plans down, and we'll get through it just like we do any other proposals.
I do have a question on that. When will that go into effect after all this process? Do you know?
The city clerk and I, along with Union Township Clerk, were reading on that, and it's only for state and federal elections.
Got it.
Okay, but I mean, the thing goes, I'm not an attorney and I might be calling you, but trying to read the ins and outs of this, what we did depict out of it is state and federal elections. So it's not going to hurt our school elections or, our off-year elections. That is a good question. So it will hit our next state election for sure.
Okay,
But we'll be all trained and ready to go by then. So,
thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. It's great information, and I appreciate the job you're doing. You're doing a fantastic job. It's a huge, huge responsibility. So thank you. Vice Chairman Horton.
Real quick, I did it before the meeting. I'd like to congratulate my fellow commissioners on their victories, and Commissioner-elect out there, Embry, congratulations, and welcome up to the board starting in 2023. So you'll find it very challenging, but very rewarding. I encourage you to take effect, anything that you can do to learn. I don't know if we still have the candidate school that they go to or whatever.
They do.
I would encourage you to do that to get you kind of indoctrinated into what to expect. And you'll find that this board, you leave your R's and D's at the door as you walk in, and you vote what you feel is best. So that's my only advice to you going forward with that. And in closing tonight, I'd like to just state that I'm wearing blue, not camo. And so it was one of my next to my last, I had 2 more board meetings, and I did not want to miss this. So I chose to wear blue instead of camo this evening, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Commissioner Hutchinson.
Yeah, I just want to throw out, when honoring Veterans Day over the weekend, the 2 members on our board, Commissioner Jelizinski and Commissioner Marino, for being ex-vets. Throw that out there for all vets in our county.
Thank you. Any other announcements? I just like to piggyback on what Vice Chairman Horton said. He kind of stole everything I was going to say, actually, but I want to congratulate Commissioner Hutchinson and Commissioner Engler on your races. And the other commissioners, I thank you for running again. Really appreciate your service. Commissioner Horton, we're happy for you that you're moving on to other things that you want to do in your life. And we appreciate your service and leadership on this board. And also, Mr. Embry, congratulations. We look forward to working with you, sir. That's all I had. Any other announcements? Okay, seeing none. We can go into closed session.
I'll make a motion that we consider entering in closed session under Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act to discuss collective bargaining agreement strategy.
Support Jelizinski.
Been moved and supported to enter a closed session to discuss collective bargaining agreement strategy. Madam Clerk, a roll call.
Commissioner Key,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Hope,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion passed, Mr. Chairman.
Clerk.
Talk about the USD.
water. But we did it. Right. Everybody back?
You do feedback?
Yes, yes.
I heard in the last legislative update, I got my, I'm sure lame ducks could consider some of these changes on the, you know, closed sessions and all that. That's not gonna be very long.
I think we're all back, right? Then is there a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn Horton.
Then moved and supported, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned at